serious?
Hi there guys, welcome to the WTF channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. And in this video I'm going to do an upgrade to this here car, the Traxxas Slash. Now as you know, the Traxxas Slash comes with this radio, their TQI 2-channel radio. And to be completely honest, that is a reasonable radio. Reasonable. But you definitely wouldn't ride home about it. It's actually pretty ergonomic. It's nice to hold. But I want to upgrade this car to using it with this here radio. My Flysky Noble NB4 radio. Partly because I want to use one radio for all my cars. But also the range is better and it's faster. Now that's not all that important with a car like this. But the range of course, that is nice. So, hartstikke I got me a box with a receiver from Flysky. It contains the FGr4B, one of their newest receivers, which I will test in this video. We're gonna have a look at how easy it is to install, but also we'll do a range check. So I'll install it in that Traxxas car and we'll see how far we get out, what the range is like with this receiver. So it's a pretty small receiver. I'll put it clearly side by side with a FGr4. This is actually the receiver that came with the Noble transmitter originally. Pretty small 4-channel receiver here, and we get some documentation, a manual presumably in Chinese and English, hopefully, probably. This is all well, mostly Chinese, and okay, it is English and Chinese side by side. Okay, and obviously you can find this manual online as well. Then, oh, this, really? This is probably actually a voltage sensor. I didn't know that, but I'll check that. But this looks to be a voltage sensor, so you can install, well, a voltage sensor in your model and have telemetry in your radio, so you can always see the voltage of your running battery with this. Interesting. I didn't know this was included, but okay. And we also get some Flysky decals, which is always nice to get. Pretty nice looking decals actually. So that's everything we got. Let's try and bind this receiver to my radio, which is a little bit different. Most Flysky receivers come with a bind plug. This one has a bind button. Yeah, that yellow circle over there is a button. Yeah, okay, it's hard to see. It doesn't protrude, but I can definitely feel it click. So, okay, let's see what the binding procedure is with this receiver. Alrighty, I've got me a battery and an ESC, generic ESC, and we'll hook up our receiver. Now, big shout out to What the Fuck RC Cars. Without his help I wouldn't have been able to bind this receiver. You don't need to update the firmware, at least not at the time I'm shooting this video, start of 2020. So again, you don't need to update the firmware on the receiver. The binding procedure is simply a little different, and I'll show you what is different. Okay, so first thing you do is press and hold that bind button. There we go, and then you switch on your receiver, flap, 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 and you'll see a fast blinking LED over here. Then let's get to the radio. Alrighty, let's have a looky. We get into the menu, then our model, and the radio frequency setup is AFHDS3 2-way. Default or stock setting, right? Then we get to RX set. And here is where things will differ. So we get into the bind set, and now we don't choose classic RX but enhanced RX. I'm not completely sure why, but apparently this is an enhanced receiver. And then you don't check the 2 RX mode. You can, but not in this case. And the starting channel doesn't really matter. Then you hit start bind.
Binding successful.
And as you can tell, it takes, well, no more than a second. And as you can hopefully see, that LED on our receiver has stopped blinking. And okay, so now we have a connection. And again, thanks to WTF RC Cars for telling us how to bind. Yeah, I tried the normal bind method, and I'm not sure again why this is an enhanced receiver, but apparently it is. Okay, and again a short little side-by-side size comparison between the original FGr4, which again came with my Noble transmitter. I think by now you get different receivers, but as you can tell, this FGr4B is a lot smaller. A lot smaller. Yeah, so that's convenient. I will add that the horizontal placement of the servo connectors on this original FGr4 can be convenient. Depends a little on your model. Oh well. Okay, so what I'll do next is I'll put this receiver in my slash, and we'll do some driving to see if it works and what the range is. Here we go. Alrighty guys, we got ourselves a car, we got ourselves a radio. Obviously the car has that receiver in it, and we've got ourselves a parking lot over here. Yeah, the parking lot is a little bit smaller than I thought it would be. You can see some construction work going on at the end of this parking lot, but this is still far further than you'd drive an RC car line of sight. Usually, at least. Maybe in a future video I'll do some FEV. Yeah, probably. I don't have an FEV setup for this car yet, but I will be doing FEV with this car eventually. So I definitely do want a proper range. Let's see if we can at least drive it until we can't really see what the car is doing anymore. This is actually genuinely the first time I'm driving this car, and oh, I didn't even check if I needed to trim things, but apparently I don't. I have set up failsafe. The car will steer 100% right and cut the throttle, but yeah, no problem at all. As you probably know, the radio would tell us if the reception wasn't good anymore. I have set it up with telemetry, so two-way. And no issues at all. If you would want to set up this radio with any Flysky receiver with lower lag, so for racing situations, you'll have to bind the receiver in one-way mode. You'll lose telemetry, but the lag will be lower. The lowest possible with this setup. By the way, a little bit strange with this Traxxas Slash. I had to physically trim the servo arm. Well, not a trim as in make it shorter, but change the position on the spline. The car was steering quite a lot to the right when I first bound it to this radio, which is unexpected. It doesn't really matter, but it's unexpected. Okay, so I guess that was a good range test. Again, this is further than you'd typically drive your car line of sight. At the end of this parking lot, I can hardly see what the car is doing. Hardly. I am being helped by this car not being all that fast. Right? That helps in this case. Yeah, this parking lot is also really showing the lack of speed of a brushed slash. Yeah, if you'd be racing slashes on this bigger course, you'd definitely want a brushless version. However, if you set up a technical course, then it's fine. Also, if every competitor drives the same car, it's also not really a problem. Okay, so but range check done. Let's get back to the studio and wrap this overview review of this receiver up. Alright guys, there you have it. A quick look at the Flysky FGr4B, and I'm assuming it's technically more or less the same as the 8B and the 12B. Obviously those receivers are a little bit bigger, but I wasn't worried. I ordered two. This one is still new in the box for a different car. And your radio, in case you're wondering, you do need to have the radio, in case I forgot to mention it. It needs to be on one of the latest firmwares. I've got mine on the 2022 version of the firmware, 2.100 I think. The receiver should also work with 1.99, but well, I don't see why you'd want to use an older firmware. And let me see, a side note. As you probably know, there's now a Pro version of the NB4. I have the original NB4, as I reviewed this radio a couple of years ago. It's been great. I have had to replace the internal battery. It's an 18660 battery, which you can pretty easily swap out for a new one. But yeah, will I be getting the Pro version of this radio? I'm sure it's a nice radio, but I don't really have a need for it personally. This radio is fine for me. Maybe if I get more models, more cars and boats than this non-Pro version can store. Who knows? But until then, I'm still pretty happy with this NB4 Noble radio from Flysky. If you are left with questions about the radio or this receiver, hit me up a comment down below. I hope this was informative for you. Catch you on the next video. Bye bye.